my guilt, state of corruption. I'm in front of the Concord Courthouse. Remember? They gave us the wrong time. Told us 9 in the morning. Wouldn't show us a notice where we've been asking for months when the hearing was. Right? So then even when we asked the courthouse, they said 9 in the morning. We checked the computer this morning at it was at 1:30. You see what I'm saying? They don't want you showing up. I want you to understand what's happening here. Friday night, I haven't heard from this court in Tucker in months, right? We've been getting refused to look at our own evidence in law, and they're stopping us. Yet they have the press in this. What you see here is a summary judgment that I received Friday evening from Tucker. That's right, no more evidence. You're not going to depose any witnesses. Right, just like Tucker. Now I want you guys to understand why. You ready? We're in civil court. I'm being sued by the drug dealers and the people who tried to murder me. You think they can have depositions? You think they can enter evidence? I gave Judge Tucker the audio that you heard, kill, that these plaintiffs and drug dealers tried to hire an individual to murder me. That's without question. Tucker has this evidence. Tucker has the evidence of 3 attorneys who work for me that are worried to be murdered. One is worried about his children being murdered from Shaheen. You see, Shaheen is the protection and the head of corruption in this state. By catching the drug dealers was the worm on the hook. That was his job, to defend them by putting them on the sign, because the police wouldn't do it. The courts won't do their job. I was forced to. And it also brought out Shaheen and the swamp that he controls in his state. This is who he is. And we got them all in the courtroom, in the workroom in Tucker. This proves that. Now I want to have you think about this and the importance of where we are and why they've got to stop me. And I'm telling you this now because there's a chance that I'm not going to make it out of that courtroom. Well, in handcuffs, because they have to have me stop talking to you. Even with this video, Greg's going to put the video chip in his sock. That's right. In case they compensate the cameras. I expect these bastards to do anything. Now, I'm going to lay the importance on you with this. You ready? Did President Trump promise the people in New Hampshire ground zero from the DEA and the drug abuse, right? I can get you the drug cartel. He's coming here at 1:30. You can all see him on the video. Boys, I want you to make sure you get these guys' faces. All right? So President Trump, I get you that. More importantly, I get you the guy covering for him. The head of the swamp. The head of the Democratic Party in this state. And I'm not playing politics, and the Republicans are corrupt too. But I get you him, Bill Shaheen. He gets you the swamp in the state that you promised to drain. See, there's 2 promises I've already got you. 1 shot, all right? Let's keep going. Now, who's Shaheen protecting? The drug cartel? Right. Wow. The power that Shaheen has is from his wife, Jeanne Shaheen, that only happens to be the New Hampshire Senator. And the other Senator, Hassan, follows Shaheen's instructions. They own him, which is why Shaheen fixed the Senate race, boys and girls. They leveraged Erin Day, the co-defendant, right from in that courtroom for $20 million. Yet when Hassan was running for Senate, that's extortion, folks. And Erin flipped. You got it? Erin flipped. So now let's think about this. President Trump. If we get Shaheen, you get the wife. And the other Senator, Hassan. That's 2 Democratic corrupt votes that are protecting the drug dealers in the Senate, if that isn't enough. And you lost a health care bill by 1 vote. So let's see. You ready? You know what's important today? Why it gets a shutdown? You get the drug cartel and all his connections. You get the crime kingpin in my state, the power broker, and drain the swamp that he owns. You get 2 corrupt Democratic senators, and whether you like the healthcare change or not, it shouldn't be a matter of corruption that makes the decision. All right, and again, let's hope we talk again. And if we don't, these guys are responsible of taking the picture of me in chains. Now hopefully they'll have the video of me in court. But I can tell you already, they're going to try to shut me down and keep me quiet. The media is going to have to sell this. This courtroom's going to be packed. We're going to be a little surprised with this media. Because the other cherry on top that we're parking this information on in Trump is the media. I want you to understand this. The media's already taken the money of these corruption between the politics, between the plaintiffs of their biggest customers. You see where they make the most money? So think about this. These people are the drug dealers and murderers I say they are? Or were the newspapers, or were the television stations that were sponsoring and making them citizens of the year? So let's throw the corrupt media with a cherry on top, all right? Now listen, I hope to talk to you again shortly, but at least you'll have this peace if you see nothing else. And if you see nothing else, it means things didn't go well. But they will in time. This is an important time. All right, Mike Gill, State of Corruption.
The exhibits that I presented to you today was actually a photograph from the website, and also that image involving Mr. Anagnos being a drug dealer that is posting in violation of court orders is still up and running. There are images of Mr. Griner still running, images of Mr. Anagnos still running, and then
as far as jury trial, I think this court's been compromised, Your Honor, so I don't want a bench trial. And I can prove it's compromised because I have a witness in the clerk of courts who's testifying that it's been compromised. Worked for the Ann Peters, worked as an assistant for Maureen O'Neill. So as far as Ann, as far as the son, we filed an appeal, Your Honor. They accepted the appeal. They're waiting to hear the appeal regarding the son. And I will remind you that we have video evidence.
That's in a different case, though, right?
No. That is in the sign, the Manchester sign,
right,
that Gordon is referring to, so it's under appeal. But I'd like to explain.
No, wait. I just want to make sure I'm following you. It's not an appeal from this particular case. It's an appeal in the Manchester.
It's the one that he's referencing. Okay. In addition, Your Honor,
Judge Messer's order.
I appealed this case too. Now, Your Honor, with the fellow tenant and the part owner of the building in Manchester, the lawyer Conley came to me, and I have 2 witnesses that heard the conversation, that Gordon was threatening him. In fact, Gordon sent him a letter to threaten him, as he did in the radio show that I represented, and said if he didn't force it down, that he would sue them. And the irony here is they have no agreement, a condo agreement. So I have the right to put it up there, which I followed the appeal, and have full confidence if someone rules against it, they go into jail. That's how confident I am. But this is Steve Gordon would extort him, not only my witnesses, the people that I work with. I have proof of that person. And Your Honor, summary judgment in a case where you have evidence of a guy who was hired by the plaintiffs to murder me. This is being investigated at the very highest level. Aaron Day, I told you of voter fraud. They sued him for $20 million. Shaheen had him run against AOC. Now that's being investigated. I'm speaking to Trump's people. I'd like you to understand this too, as far as speaking in evidence to try to shut this down. I'm working with Project Veritas. Now Aaron Day was the key point man there. So when you release him, he's also one of my witnesses. James O'Keefe has got informants inside of AutoFair. The president is coming down and looking at this, which is why the election fraud's all coming out. So you can have all the summary judgments you want. I promise you this will be criminally investigated. Eileen Landy, which I've asked you, Your Honor, she has our computer. We weren't getting notices. You know why we weren't getting notices? This Miss Peters, Lena Peters, working in the clerk's office, came to work for me with the understanding that Delker and yourself were working criminally with the notification through the clerk of courts. Now, I gave her information to the President and the Department of Justice, videotaped it, have it all. So here's a witness in the clerk of courts, Eileen Landy. Now, think about this. She is the admin in Delker's courtroom. So as they've been violating me out on these cases because of notifications, for instance, Your Honor, you know I never got a notice of this hearing, yet I have a witness here who's been here about 10 times trying to get one. And when we were told on the phone, they told us 9 o'clock. You see? So it is the plan. Let's put it this way. If I have a witness, or if I have evidence, and you have evidence of 3 attorneys worried about being murdered by Shaheen, these people go to jail. This shouldn't be in a civil court. This should be in a criminal court. I got a sheriff waiting outside that door who's going to arrest me. Arrest me for the cases that they represented me on. It's extortion. These are the same people who offered me $50 million, Your Honor, which is why they never said that they didn't. Now think about, wait a minute, Your Honor, I want to make one point to you, just so for your own good.
One more point.
You understand that this Senate race is going to be investigated. It was in Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post. They're not going to realize that Erin Day was extorted by $20 million and a bullet to the face. Now, those witnesses, Brian Toomey and Kerry, and on those computers, were giving the information to the plaintiffs of my schedule to be murdered. Now, we had one of the murderers willing to get confessed if giving immunity. So what's happening in this courtroom is, on Friday I get the summary judgment. Days before that, from not hearing them at all, and not hearing from you at all, I get these motions. And on today, the motion is, don't submit any evidence, don't have any witnesses, and we'll have a bench trial. I am telling you the world's watching, and they're in this courtroom.
Okay. No,
You're giving me a trial on the 25th of September, and today's the 11th? Is that what you're saying to me?
that's what I'm saying to you.
Well, are we talking about tens of millions of dollars, Your Honor? Shouldn't you give me a little time to prepare? Shouldn't you have a little time considering that I want a jury trial instead of yourself? But I would need, listen.
Bill, I haven't addressed the question of whether it's going to be a jury trial or a bench trial yet, but I'm telling you, whatever happens, it's going to start on the 26th. All right?
Well, I will be able to appeal.
You can appeal whatever you want. Have a seat, please.
Okay, but it's looking pretty obvious.
I'd like to address is plaintiff's first motion in limine to preclude evidence and defendants from presenting arguments not made. There is nothing deeper in meaning to me, and I think to the lawyers in the state, and to judges and parties in the state, than to have faith and belief that issues of disputes can be resolved peacefully, honorably, dispassionately in our courts. There is no greater privilege that I have had than to appear and represent institutions and private parties and to bring into life as best as I can, with as much energy as I can, the concept of due process of law. That is, each party is given an opportunity to present their case. Each party can be heard with respect. There are rules that set out the procedures to be applied. And those of us who practice, and pro se parties as well, learn and apply those rules so that the administration of justice can be fair, it can be prompt, it can be impartial. Those are the values that I've held dear. I try to practice as best as I could and can. And those are the values that Mr. Gill runs over with a brashness and an arrogance that is so destructive. All the while, in the cowardly failure to present any evidence on signs and on internet, these postings continue, and continue, despite warnings by the court that it will go into questions of enhanced compensatory damages. When the court requested and ordered that confidential informants be disclosed, that evidence and those affidavits where they said it was untrue.
Object, Your Honor. How does he know they were untrue?
Mr. Gill filed motions that people wanted immunity of judgments, but the court has the critical authority under Rule 1 to bring to life the very principles that I spoke to when I first began. What is just? How is justice administered? Is it fair? Is it prompt? Is it efficient? Is it effective? And this court has the inherent power to issue orders that would be consistent with the very principles that are set forth in Rule 1. As to why a bench trial would be appropriate would be all the statements by Mr. Gill. He intends to preclude Gill and mortgage specialists from presenting any evidence or witnesses in any trial that jurors will be brought in. It will be a voir dire that has to be incredibly circumscribed. I don't see how Mr. Gill standing before a jury on a voir dire would be allowed to go into any of the things he intends to go into, despite his fervent belief that it is all true. It will become a circus. It will be back and forth. Corruption will be a dynamic. But I always had the belief, not a hope, a fervent belief that day judgment would come.
Well, I'd like to, since Mr. Gordon so passionately defended the court and his own record, what he forgot to tell you in those 40 years of practicing law is he represented me and my company. Right. In fact, the case with McHugh on a divorce, which he referred to, Wiggins, he was also my divorce attorney with Wiggins. Now I remind you this, with Anderson, the DRA, his case, IRS, their case. So all of the pieces that are leveraged, and his 40 years of experience, he forgot to tell this court he was my lawyer. Now, what he also forgot, so passionately, is that you know who was on those signs before these drug dealers? He was. And Bill Shaheen. And Walker. As my attorneys. And the fraud they committed in court with Judge McHugh. Now he's telling you that these outlandish stories, that I accuse these judges, as I'm accusing you, because I know how you're going to rule. What they ask, you're going to get them. But that's how McHugh was too. But the difference here now is, you ready? They offered me $50 million, not the drug dealers. I didn't know that. I want to tell you, my motive with them is I never motive. Aaron Day brought me that evidence. But let's go, Your Honor. Mr. Gordon, who appears and wants to appear, that he's a pillar of the society. I want to ask this court, what do you pay $50 million for? And he was my attorney. And the whole thing, excuse me, Your Honor, you didn't interrupt him one time.
I just want to remind you about what the issue is. The issue
I understand the issue.
You should have a bench trial because you haven't turned over
The issue is credibility here, Your Honor. He turned around and tried to compromise my credibility, didn't he? So I'm trying to tell you, this is who Gordon is. He didn't tell you he was my attorney. What was they offering me $50 million? I had lawsuits against these people. Liberty International representative offered me that money. What I found from Aaron Day was that he was the witness to all these drug deals. I met with Project Veritas. I met with Congressman Ginta. Okay? I met with law enforcement and the FBI with Aaron Day. All right? So, regarding the evidence, we have the evidence in the witnesses. We gave you 46. You ready, Your Honor? I want you to pay particular attention to this. I gave you information and evidence. Maria Pursuto, an attorney, who called out Shaheen Gordon corrupt, was worried that she was going to get murdered in May. I gave you the messages of Ted Little, who said that we were compromised. He was my attorney working for Sheen. He was so petrified he wouldn't give me information until his children in the plan. Okay, Dallas Sedgwick had to move to Oklahoma, was afraid of being murdered by these people. Now I have a history, and you have evidence, which is why they are the lawyers here. We have not realized that these were my attorneys. So as far as the witnesses were compromised. So here we go. He called them all. Those witnesses have called me back and are willing to testify they were compromised. So what I am telling this court, if this corruption, and I can bring Leanne Peters in, I can show that in the computer, Bryant computers, that he was working corruptly with them, to the point where they gave him the address where I was going to meet the National Mortgage Association and have a murder attempt. Now listen, these murder attempts, Your Honor, fortunately, you have that evidence too.
You said all this is being investigated, correct? Your criminal investigation?
Oh, it's going to the Department of Justice, but I will tell you this. No. You also know, Your Honor, that Bill Shaheen is connected with the FBI, U.S. Attorney. You've seen them mail those back. They didn't say they weren't going to be investigated. They didn't say this. Trump's going to investigate it, though, because of the voter fraud that came in here. Are we ignoring the witness of Aaron Day? They had Aaron go out and do a little performance. And that's what this is, it's a performance. WR put on that performance, too. And then giving the check. Aaron Day didn't settle, send the paperwork here. There was nothing exchanged. This has always been a cover-up. I am confident that these are the drug dealers. Listen, Your Honor, what's my motive? None of my kids are on drugs. These individuals have never done a thing to me. But I was forced by the evidence that I got, by putting them on the Sun, brought out the corrupt cover team, Gordon and all, who I've been fighting for years in uncovering, which is why they offered me $50 million. And if you think people offer you $50 million and you're wrong, think again. All right, and as far as the jury trial, they got their confidence in you, Your Honor. You know you're going to do a bench trial. But I'm also going to tell you I'm going to maintain this criminal. And you can have the trial, and you can be the judge, and you can find me guilty. I'll appeal it, but I promise to put everybody in jail. How about this? Eileen Landy, any one of these guys who given immunity is a witness. Aaron Day will tell you. Aaron Day, and I have a witness for that in the courtroom, if the courtroom like to hear it, was compromised by Bill Shaheen. Bill Shaheen called his attorneys, Aaron's attorneys. Aaron told me, because at that point, we were working with Project Veritas and we were moving forwards. They were only suing Aaron for $2 million. Aaron's insurance covered those $2 million, so he's still with me. Well, Your Honor, your ruling can go off at the $20 million, made him compromise. That and then threatening to murder him. So at that point is when he started giving evidence to these people. Eileen Landy, my paralegal, his closest friend, were not giving me, was working with the clerks of courts to corrupt this, not telling me the motions. So if the system has been corrupted and unfairly, which it has, which it can prove, think about this, Your Honor. Delbert Walker, another one of my attorneys. Isn't this funny? My attorney, and all the issues they're working on. Very important, Your Honor. Because these bridge things.
So this is a different...
Hold on, Your Honor. I'm making an important point.
I want to stick to this case. I don't want to talk about...
You had Gordon talk about his career and give a flowery piece. I'm giving you evidence will tie back into this. This thing, on the admin, Your Honor.
We're getting way beyond...
No. This goes to the corruption and the compromise of my case.
You're getting
you
way
have...
out.
Listen, I have...
The motion is whether or not there should be be a bench trial because you didn't turn over.
Well, he was, right, I'm giving you,
interrogatories and other discovery in the case.
great, and I am giving you the proper answer. Your Honor, the receiving of that information was compromised by the people that worked for him. Understand, any witnesses, they go to jail. Are you ignoring, Your Honor? Well, did you listen to Jamie Gertner, who worked for AutoFair for 7 years? Top salesman. You know what he said? He said that these individuals, the plaintiffs, Sequoias, the partner of AutoFair, and the right-hand man of Agnos, according to Gertner. Sequoia has since resigned. Did you know that? And in the same time, right, this is the evidence that you have, Your Honor, turned around and said that they wanted me dead. How much to kill me? Okay? And at the time period that he refers to, right out of jail, I had 2 attempts on my life within a matter of a week. You see? Now, he also said that AutoFair is selling drugs. And not 40 years ago, now. He also talks of extortion and collection and tells them what they're doing.
Is this why you haven't complied with the discovery rule?
Comply? No. The reason why is we've been compromised by the emails and the mailings, so we don't receive it. Listen, Your Honor, for a perfect example, and maybe you want to look, find out from the clerk of court if they ever mailed us a hearing notice on this, even though multiple requests. Ask them if they gave us the wrong time. And this is what I was trying to tell you. The admin for even emailing, guess what? We gave it to the Department of Justice. You're going to like this. Our admin, you know who were on it? Eileen Landy, that paralegal. Brian Toomey, who was working with him in the computer, and Kerry Lemieux, the last paralegal. That means they had access and the ability to draw and pull. And that's what Eileen Peters will testify to. Now think about this, Your Honor. There's no question she came to work for us. I put it on the internet. Now why, with the assistance of the clerk of courts, that I'm calling that courtroom corrupt and then corrupt and saying what they're doing with those notices, only to verify that point. And for me to hire her, Your Honor, you have to assume that that was correct. So if it is correct, they are on the admin. And on these admin also had Lisa Tracy. Lisa Tracy, my controller, was leveraged by Shaheen and Gordon. Now they're on there too. And Your Honor, those 10 little text messages, they explain that. Right. The husband molested the daughter. Shaheen and Gordon leveraged my controller that way to destroy evidence. What I'm telling you is I have lawyers and paralegals lined up. They'll testify. Since this, within the last 2 weeks, that same office where Eileen Landy was broken into and the information was stolen. So, in closing, this has been compromised. This is criminal. They are drug deals. Shaheen is the corruption with Gordon in this state. And I'm going to give this information to Mr. Trump. But let's think about this. We get the drug deals, which he wanted. We drain the swamp, which is run by Shaheen. We turn around and take out 2 Democratic Senate seats because they work corruptly. And we might just have a health care bill. So what's the chances of Trump passing on that? Since I've been giving it to him for 1.5 years. So do your worst.
Do you have any other motions that are pending?
There was a motion of limited with regard to traffic counts that I think the court would just rule upon.
I'm sorry, motion limited regarding what?
Motion eliminate seeking judicial notice.
Could you speak up again? I'm not sure what this motion is.
Judicial
Motion to
notice?
what?
Of traffic counts at the intersections of the locations of the billboard based on New Hampshire Department of Transportation statute.
Your Honor, can you have that motion explained a little bit? Traffic count? What do they want me to stop traffic? Have less traffic?
Well, have you read the motion?
Well, no, they just gave it to me a few seconds ago when I got in here.
That's not true.
Oh, is this the one Friday?
No, that's not.
Yesterday? They dropped everything on me at once, Your Honor.
It was,
Well,
Which was with the plan, obviously.
have you seen the motion?
No.
I've not seen it.
Well, I can look, but it doesn't matter, Your Honor. Whatever the motion says, you're gonna pass. But go ahead, I'll read it now.
All right, so we're just going to move on that without an argument.
Yes. Could you speak up again?
They
You
want me-
have
they
your
want
fun
me-
up there, Your Honor.
They want me to rule on it without argument. You want to make an argument on it, Mr. Gill?
And the argument is on the traffic count?
There's a motion for judicial notice on about the traffic count.
My argument is the same on all of this. What are we playing? The Emperor's New Clothes? Are you forgetting you have a guy out there that's threatening to murder me? Your Honor, did you listen to that audio tape? Videotape. Did you listen to it? The audio. Of Kill Gil. You know, the guy who wants to murder me. Listen, Your Honor, if they wanted to murder you, I'd listen to it. And I'd try to help you. So here's my argument, Your Honor. It's the same argument from the beginning. We have been compromised. Anything beyond this is moot. This is not, we're not pretending this didn't happen. Okay? So in other words, everything that's gone on has to be investigated. Particularly Leanne Peters and being compromised. And that's going to be my position. And the fact that this courtroom has been corrupted. And I believe that you're taking instructions from Steve Gordon and more importantly, Bill Shaheen.
Okay.
Are you a Democrat, Your Honor?
You're entitled to whatever you think.
Yeah.
Mr. Gill?
Are you a Democrat?
All right, any other motions from you, please?
Based on that last comment, I will say nothing.
Mr. Gill, did you have any motions?
Is that all?
Did you have any motions that had not yet been ruled on?
Well, Your Honor, we sent you many motions, but never rule on them. For
Well,
instance, when I asked...
Tell me what motions you have not received rulings.
Listen, Your Honor, I don't know. You know why? Because we have a paralegal that's working for them. I'm not sure what came in or not. We can prove it. We can even show the emails being intercepted. So you're asking me to defend myself on something that's moot because it has been corrupted.
All right.
And again, you're going to rule on what you want,
All right.
what he wants.
Okay. That's it.
The only thing I would say is allegations of corruption do not justify good cause shown, which is the standard here. And all of Mr. Gill's statements, if viewed as offers of proof, there's no evidence to support it. There's no evidence to support anything that he said. Good cause has not been shown, no witnesses, no exhibits, no jury trial.
Your Honor, you got 46 witnesses, and I can give you 46 more. You have evidence from a gentleman that works at Auto Fair that said that these people want to murder me. He keeps saying no evidence. I'll tell you exactly what Steve Gordon does. He took that from Delker, whose best friend is Rosenberg, the managing partner here, who should have been refused. And they called those people. I had those state troopers call me, Keenan, and said that Gordon was threatening them. I had the gentleman who gave us the information that the drugs that were coming out of the Elliott Hospital, his life has since been threatened. Mike Foley, who came to us working for Auto Fair, gave us the information, did a video on it. They surrounded his house and have been doing it and threatening him. See, there's no question here. They turn around and you see the 91A that Aganos was arrested. Those 5 state troopers were witnesses that they gave an affidavit. They manipulated the affidavit. I'll tell you, Shepard, he turns around and says, I have no knowledge of Dick Aganos being a drug dealer currently. He arrested him before. Right. And all this information that they don't want to bring in would make them drug dealers and drug launderers and attempted murder. Now I am asking you, Your Honor, considering it's my life, and I only have to assume that you looked at the evidence that they said you didn't get, and not only did you, Gertner, threaten to kill me, largest, best salesman, to corruption with banking, they said, selling of the drugs. If that's not a witness, and Your Honor, I think by looking at that evidence on how many people were afraid to be murdered before we even bring the drugs, I'd say that is owed an investigation. And I am telling you right now, we're going to get one.
And if somebody does their math, and they start realizing, in the last 48 hours, I checked an election fraud, did I not say in this court, and put it to you, that they were leveraging them for $20 million? And Your Honor, you approved that for 2. That's what made it possible. And then he flipped for them. See? But we cannot have a trial. Aaron not coming in as a witness. And the reason why they're using, again, corruptly, because they can't have a witness. They can't have that. They keep saying no evidence. Did you, Your Honor, receive a stack of evidence this high? And I'm asking the court, did you review that evidence, Your Honor, before you made a decision and before you said we didn't have any witnesses? Did you review the
A
evidence?
decision on what?
Excuse me.
A decision on what?
He just said, Your Honor, Gordon,
No, what are you saying I decided?
I asking you, did you look at the evidence that I did submit? The witnesses, the text messages that were afraid for their lives, afraid for being murdered. Did you review that
I
evidence?
reviewed everything you gave me, Mr. Gill.
Thanks. So you did listen to the gentleman who said that he was hired by these individuals to murder me. You did hear that.
Yeah, it was a long time ago that you filed it.
Listen, Your Honor, if somebody was on audio threatening to murder you, I would remember. Are you telling me that they threatened to murder me, and you're telling me you don't remember?
All right, we're not going to argue anymore about this.
You don't remember they were going to kill
We'll be
me.
back here on September 25th unless I rule there's a bench trial.
I'm touched. Murder. Guys, gotta get this on camera. Quick, Greg, move. Move, Greg. Get it on camera. That's expected. This goes to Trump too. Get in front of these guys, Greg. Face shots. Bill. Come on, my end. Greg, move. Murder. One, guys, get this on camera. Quick, Greg, move. Move, Greg. Get it on camera. That's expected. This goes to Trump too. Get in front of these guys, Greg.
Excuse me.
Face shots.
We're going to have everybody in the state room
Come
right
on, my
now.
end.
Why can't I go in the hall?
Because you can't right now, and you're not allowed to film outside the courtroom, so if you can just stay where
Greg,
you are.
move.
This way, sir.